Good afternoon, friends. Good evening, wherever you're at in the world. I'm just leaving St. Louis, Missouri, and driving to Tulsa, Oklahoma. About a 300-mile drive. I love to drive, and I fly a lot as well. But spending a year of my life in Missouri when the kids were young on a consulting gig, I really loved the beauty of Missouri. Some people call it misery. I grew up in Oklahoma, but since my parents are in Tulsa, I love, popping in there, staying the night, seeing some of the family members, either my grandson, having coffee and breakfast with my parents in the morning, maybe going to church with them, and of course seeing one or more of my sons. So today's topic, we've been doing books on the beach and talking a lot to authors about getting the book out to the world, getting the manuscript written, getting a bestseller status. But today I want to talk a little bit about a broader, more general topic, and that is perfection kills direction. We got the hands, we'll say we've got the hands-free device here, but when it comes to, there's Jellystone Park Resort. My brother will remember when we were young, we went there. That was really cool. Yogi Berra, the water park, camping out, my aunt and uncle's RV. Well, what a fun time. So tell me where you're watching from. Yesterday, I was in Nashville supporting 3 of our authors. And, hey, thanks for the thumbs. Hey, Sean, what's going on in Dallas, bro? I'll be back in Dallas tomorrow. But, a lot of creatives, I deal with a lot of creatives. Sean's an entrepreneur, started multiple businesses. And it seems like there's those that hesitate, and then there's those that don't wait. And timing seems to me. Tell me if I'm wrong, Sean. I think you've done more business startups than I have, but when people hesitate, you miss out, and you don't really realize that hesitation can cost you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. I think a good example of that's the iPhone. They roll out a product that they know is not quite ready, but they don't want to hesitate. I mean, why wait when the market has what you need? And I tell authors specifically, don't be a perfectionist. Just like this video right now is I'm doing it on the fly. But what I've noticed is our authors that sell the most books are the ones that aren't afraid of making a mistake. I mean, at the end of the day, you want your book to be perfect when it goes to print, right? And it should be, but quite honestly, do you know how many New York Times best-selling books still have a few typos in them? And, there's some people that are never going to get their product to market. There's some people that are never going to get their idea out to the world. They're going to die with their music in them. And it's really sad. It's really unfortunate because the world could be a better place. And so I kind of like being first to market with things. If you're like me and involved in multiple business startups and either a partner on a project or consulting on a project or, beyond publishing, our publishing company or our PR firm, not everything's perfect. We make mistakes. Yes, we proofread everything. Yes, we do edits. We run it by third parties and all that good stuff. Of course, we run it by the client first, right? But inevitably, somebody's going to miss something. But, in today's 24/7 globally connected news cycle, I was gonna stay the night in St. Louis, but I just wanted to get on the road because I'm so excited about business. I'm so excited about some new clients we're working with. And I want to say that a good example would be Michelle Borquez. She's coming out with her 13th book. It's Put On Your Boots and Walk Like a Boss. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Where are you watching from today? Would love to hear from you. It's sunny. I just came out of it looked like it was going to be a tornado. And I had a real fascination as a child with meteorology. I wanted to be a meteorologist as a kid, but I stuttered. And my parents bought me this weather forecasting kit as a kid for Christmas one year. I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough, I turned 50 in May, so we had the Sears and Roebuck catalog, that was always a big thing for my brother and I, Ken, my older brother. After you did your chores on the farm, you have 2 black and white channels. You get a little bored because after the Andy Griffith Show and Gilligan's Island, there's not a whole lot to watch. And after the evening news, they sign off, with singing the Star Spangled Banner and the F-16s fly over, and they sign off for the next morning. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Where are you watching from today? So I'm driving through Missouri right now, and we're talking about perfection kills direction, and it's kind of like a moving car is easier to steer and not to be, tongue-in-cheek with that metaphor, but it's true, right? If it's a relationship, if it's a business, if it's a startup, I think we're better off getting the product to market. Let's say a keynote speech, because I deal with a lot of speakers. In fact, Michelle was speaking today on stage, and she did a really good job. And she was a little hard on herself because she just came off a 10-day vacation with family, and she was a little tired. And it was her first time to give this keynote. But really, speaking at a major network marketing company, being the keynote opening speaker, she nailed it, and she's already got 700 views on her Facebook from the Facebook Live this morning. And it's all how you package it. So what I would say, I have noticed, my experience, the older I get, there's some that through the paralysis of analysis just don't do anything. And I tell people all the time that say, hey, I want to write my book, get my book out to the world. 6 months later, they don't have a single page written. A year later, they've totally moved on to something else. And I say, speed of implementation is a huge thing. When I was young, when I was 12, we would always, hey, Kenny, good to see you. You're one of my friends and clients here. I told Michelle that we had such a good time yesterday. Follow Kenny Mock, guys, with Mockisms. He's got a great book coming out about leaving your life imprint. His story is just phenomenal and remarkable. But it's a good example of getting your story out to the world. It doesn't matter if the audio is not quite right. In fact, I brought the boom mic, but because I kind of hopped in the car and did this trip on the fly, I left the connector that connects the iPhone to the Rode boom mic. And we could have got some better audio, but you know what? You roll with it. In the past, I would have kind of beat myself up over that and be like, but we did. I'll tell you, we got the money shot of the crowd clapping. And when it comes to creating a sizzle reel for the speakers and experts on here, tell me where you're watching today from, guys. I tell you, Kenny, Michelle had 700 views on her Facebook Live. She knocked it out of the park today at the J. Bloom MLM Direct Sales Company, speaking at their corporate event. She was the opening keynote, coming off a 10-day trip with family in a different time zone. And she was a little hard on herself, but I said, hey, you did a great job, because what she did was she told her story. She told it from the heart. She was very authentic, but then she gave some awesome takeaways. And since she wasn't able to talk about her book, since she wasn't able to talk about her conference with Paula White coming up in October, she was a little limited, but of course she gave people the website, michelleborquez.com. And of course I hollered out, tell them, how do you spell Borquez? Don Morgan in Arizona, my friend, you would have loved the event today. I appreciate you so much, Don. I really love you and June. Say hi to June. I hope all is well with you and Carisha and the entire family. But we're talking about perfection. Some people never start the podcast because it's got to be perfect. Kenny is launching a podcast soon, and he's got some great potential guests lined up. But I tell people, the first 6 or 12 podcasts are very important, who you have. But some people never start. And so I've got a new podcast starting soon. It's called Influencer Radio. It's just been on my heart for a while to interview influencers. I think the future of business is going to be, obviously it's mobile communication. Obviously it's real-time instant communication. Sometimes I'll do a Facebook Live. We'll get thousands of views and hundreds of shares, comments, and things like that, depending on which page we're broadcasting from. We've got about 200 fan pages that we manage for clients, including the ones we manage for ourselves. So I would say, don't worry about the hair and makeup. Tell me where you're watching from. Thanks for the likes there. And then share with me your project. I want to know what you're up to, Don. Kenny, share your link there. Everybody, Joe, share the link there. Because what happens, and Sean's good at this, he's a serial entrepreneur, and not for General Mills or Quaker Oatmeal, but he's a great serial entrepreneur. And share, talk, because it will go viral, and it's 6 degrees of separation. It doesn't matter if it's not polished, but I have noticed that the business owners, the authors, the people that get the most traction online, and it's really about engagement. So somebody will spend $1 million on a Super Bowl ad to try to get impressions, right? Not even to buy the product. And you look at the Pringles commercial on this last Super Bowl ad, it got millions and millions of views, but they're wanting to get impressions and get in your head, so the next time you go to the store, you buy all 7 flavors of Pringles, not just one can. And so make it fun. I think Geico is a good example. Geico, they've got a $1 billion marketing budget. But even if you don't have a $10,000 marketing budget, you can have fun. Quite honestly, I don't spend anything on pay-per-click ads, Facebook ads, Google ads. I do for my clients, but all of our referrals, it's been exactly that. It's been referrals, word of mouth. So I would encourage you, if you're writing a new book, if you're drafting a new keynote, if you're launching a new business, or if you're doing something new in general, don't wait for it to be perfect. That doesn't mean you don't prepare, right? You want to get the lighting right, you want to get the audio right, but we all have a TV studio in our pocket, and mine is actually not in my pocket right now. It's actually in my on my hands-free device, and that's my iPhone 8 Plus. And then immediately when we're done with this Facebook Live, I'll upload it to the cloud. But before I upload it to Facebook, I will download it in high definition. And you've got this on your Android, you got this on your iPhone. Facebook gives you the option of downloading the HD, saving it, then I'll turn around and upload that when I get home tonight or when I stop for a coffee. I'll upload it to my YouTube channel, because I want people to know what I'm up to. I want people to know what I'm doing. There's always an exciting announcement, right, Don Morgan? We've done some fun business together over the years. What a great guy there, Don. Kenny Mock, I think you and Don would hit it off just outstanding. And it's been a fun whirlwind trip in Nashville yesterday. Hey, Brett, where are you watching from, brother? In Nashville yesterday, meeting with 3 of our authors. And I got to say, I just love Nashville, Music City. I raised when my children were young, we were there for a couple of years in the 90s. And we just love that city. It's changed a lot. It's booming. But who's a good example? We mentioned the iPhone of perfectionism hinders directionism. How's that for a word? Directionism. So if you're going to be too perfectionistic, and I would say staff for your weaknesses. If you're an analytical person that's got to analyze an opportunity for 3 years before you make a decision. Hey, Michelle. Speaking of Michelle, I'm not in Dallas. I will be in Dallas tomorrow. I'm currently in St. Louis. Just heard Michelle Borquez deliver an awesome keynote to a direct sales company, a group of women, hundreds of women, about I think 300 or 400 women in the room, and it was outstanding. So I'm leaving St. Louis. I'll be in Tulsa tomorrow with the family, and then make the 3-hour trip to Dallas on Sunday afternoon. So Michelle, exciting things. I know you're rolling out the red carpet. Tell me what's new with you. We're talking today about the topic, perfection kills direction. And I just drove by David and Nicole Crank's church, and I really love these guys. I don't even remember the name of the church. Yeah, I love Nashville too. I think you love Texas too. But David and Nicole Crank, I've been watching these guys on social media. They're young pastors. They're Gen Xers. But when you watch them on Instagram or you watch them on Facebook, they're not always preaching at you. They're not always giving you the gospel and everything, which I would be okay with that. But they're talking about life. They're talking about money. They're talking about relationships. They're talking about, yeah, she's awesome. And done is the new perfect. I like that. Yeah, because you know what? It'll never be done, but also I think what happens when you put a product into the market, that's when you get the feedback. I say crowdsource the book. I say crowdsource the keynote. I say crowdsource the product because, you know, in the lab, everything you create in a lab or a boardroom, it's so benign, and it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? The pharmaceutical lab. It's so synthetic. But if you put it out here in the real world, let's see if it's going to work on the street. Hey, listen, if it works on the street and it helps somebody close more business and it helps somebody improve their life, then we know it works. So I was talking to a client today and I said, what is your closing ratio? And she said 98%. And I said, well, you know, obviously what you're doing is working. She's selling a $20,000 product, a $20,000 coaching program. And I say, you know, and it's not perfect. It's not a perfect coaching program. But I would say the clients that we have that are being the most successful, that are selling the most books, that are seeing the best results, they are the clients that they're not hung up on it's not perfect. But they are hung up on let's get this thing to market quickly, and then we'll tweak it when we get feedback. So just wanted to share on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening here, 6:40 driving from St. Louis to Joplin, Missouri. I'm going to grab a coffee here in a bit, land in Tulsa, Oklahoma, be with the family tonight and tomorrow, and then take the 3-hour drive down to Dallas. I love to drive. I mean, I love to fly too, but the thing is, a lot of these cities from point A to point B in the Midwest, just like Nashville yesterday, I can get to where I want to go by the time I go. Hey, Jill. How you doing, Jill? Where are you watching from? Good to have you. Like Dallas, for example, one reason I landed in McKinney, Texas, which is in North Dallas, for those of you that don't know, it's only a 3-hour drive to Tulsa, where my grandson is, who's 5. And I go see him at least twice a month, and my other family members. So I can get to Tulsa, Oklahoma from Dallas quicker in my car than I could driving to the airport and flying and doing the 45-minute flight. So, and not to mention the fact, yesterday I did about 19 business calls driving to Nashville, maybe 24. I'm going to have to look and check my phone, but I had some business calls I needed to make, and they were all sales and prospecting, and closed 3 deals and left messages and got back with people and people that were expecting to hear from me. So we scheduled stuff for next week. So I love to drive. I think it goes back to when my kids were young and I was itinerating around the country. My wife and I, we would travel, and when the kids were real young, we would drive at night. And so I just kind of got that in my blood. Been to 48 states, 2 to go. 2 states to go. But so many of these roads I've driven, you know, I know exactly how long it takes to get from point A to point B, and I drive off peak times. I was in California for 3 years, Michelle, and you know what it's like out there. Even in Orange County, it can get crazy, like LA and Riverside County. But you just drive non-peak times, which in California is 3 a.m., but fortunately in these Midwestern states, it's not nearly as bad. Sev, how are you from the islands? Talk to us. Tell us what you're up to. I know you're saving trafficking victims and doing some awesome things. I know you've got an awesome book in English and in French. Share the link, Sev. Let us know what you're up to. We're talking about perfection and how so many people are paralyzed because their book, their keynote, their product, their program, their nonprofit is not perfect. I know you're changing a lot of lives, Sev, so just share there in the comments so people can follow you, share your website, and did I love the LA traffic? Oh my goodness, the 405. Great memories. I spent a lot of time on that 405. Well, I thought we were going to get a tornado cloud. If you look at my Facebook, about an hour ago, I posted and it looked just like a tornado. And I was actually picking Michelle up from the Embassy Suites where the conference was, Michelle, and dropping her off at the airport. And in 3 minutes, that dark cloud that you see on the video dissipated and just turned into rain. Hey, Laquita, what are you up to? Good to see you and your grandkids and your daughter on Instagram. Just, wow, time flies, right? So, anyway, guys, this was Books on the Beach, which normally we started shooting 2 years ago in Huntington Beach. And last week we shot it at the pool in Dallas, Texas. And I thought, let's do a Saturday afternoon and let's not talk about just author-centric things. Let's turn the camera around. You can see this. This is great. Let's just talk about some things that every entrepreneur deals with, and some things that we can go to Jesse James Wax Museum, Merrimack Caverns. Laquita, I know you recognize this road between Joplin and St. Louis. So anyway, peace out, everybody. Be sure and tag me on your Facebook Lives when you go live. I love seeing what you're up to. I love staying in touch with people. And I love Facebook. When I was, hey, Eric, another one of my entrepreneur friends there in Dallas, doing some cool things there with the Millionaires Network. I know Michelle's a part of that network as well as Sean was on a minute ago, Sean Menard, and Eric. Eric started a lot of businesses. If you're in the Dallas area, we need to invite you out to the Intelligent Millionaires Network, or in LA with Michelle, more there. So, wrapping up here, we're just saying, get out there, start the business, tag me when you do your post. I met so many people in Nashville yesterday that 23 years ago, my wife and I, when I was married, we went out there to assist and help start that church. And it just felt really good and awesome and fun to connect with him. It was Pastor Danny's, for those of you that know him. He's done 22 albums. And yesterday on his 60th birthday, he cut his 23rd album. And oh man, it's just amazing, amazing music. And it will be out soon. But they did the recording right there in Nashville with some awesome world-class musicians that they have. So let me know what you're up to. And here's a guy up ahead as I sign off is going to be realizing that he probably should have been focusing on perfection instead of direction. Maybe he wasn't using his hands-free device. Busted. Hey Sean, I'll see you Wednesday. We're having the mastermind. I think you're probably speaking too. I'm gonna. David asked me to share a little bit about book publishing. It was a great day in St. Louis. Michelle knocked it out of the park doing the keynote address. I will say this: if you don't have a keynote, you want to get with Christina Walker in Dallas, and you want to perfect that keynote. Dr. Larry Ward, how are you, my friend? I need to come see you. Lisa Jones, good to see you. All right, headed to Joplin, Missouri right now, then on to Tulsa. So if you don't have a keynote yet, you really want one, you can have a short keynote, and I got to tell you, it's Danny Chambers, Michelle. Danny Chambers. You can Google him. His music is, he's got a lot of free music on the internet. It's worth buying. He's got 23rd album coming out, and you would recognize his music. He inspired Israel Houghton. He's one reason that Israel Houghton ended up at Joel Osteen's church, and he's done a lot of writing of songs. He's written hundreds of songs over the years. So tell me an area, maybe an example of where perfection prevented you from really having all the blessings, right? Because maybe you dragged your feet on something. Yeah, man, I'll see you at that mastermind. This is what I like too, because the Intelligent Millionaires Network, you know, it's a startup company and it's not perfect, but we got such a great group of people that I jumped in there quickly with Sean and the gang in Dallas, because I saw getting on the front end of a trend is key. Some people are not early adopters, they're late adopters. And one thing I learned from Eric and Michelle as well too is being an early adopter, there is greater risk, but there's also greater reward, right? So with that, I'm going to say peace out, friends. I appreciate all of you, and just tag me, let me know when you go live, because I want to follow you, support you. And if you're not doing video on Facebook, this is the fastest way, the best way to stay in touch with people. You know, Facebook is always changing their algorithms. You know, we know Facebook is very selective, and a lot of times they'll unfairly and judiciously push someone's post down because they don't agree with it. But the best way to do it is to do the videos, because the videos get the most traction. All right, Top Golf, man, let's do it, Sean. I'm in. Let's do it. You know, the other thing I want to talk about next time is micro investing. Sean, I'm going to want to interview you on Influencer Radio, because a lot of people say they're not an accredited investor yet. But the beautiful thing is now there's a lot of these micro investings in these apps where you can go invest in even commercial real estate or startup companies, and you don't have to be an accredited investor worth $1.5 million. So maybe some more on that, Sean. What do you think? Well, rain in Missouri. I'm going to make some phone calls, listening to some music, grab some coffee. Let me know what you're up to tonight, friends. Peace out. I'm going to post. Good night. Don't forget to hit the download button.